We have three broad categories of methods on arrays. Let's have a look at an example of each of them. So as we just did in the lecture, let's look at mutate methods. And remember, these methods alter the original array. So let's create an array. Let's just call it numbers for lack of a better word. And let's have 5, 10, 15 in that array. And let's use the push method. The push method is a mutating method. And let's push the number 20 on this. Let's console log numbers push. And it says here in my IDE, it's already giving me a clue. It says it returns the new length of the array. And let's push the number 20 onto this. Now the array is going to have length 4. So when I console log out numbers, it's going to have 4 numbers now. It has affected the actual original array. Well, what's another example? Let's work with colors. Let's say original colors are blue and green. But let's say someone else comes along and wants to create amended colors, but they want to start off with these colors as like the base point. So let's say the amended comes along and they want to use the original as a starting point, but they want to push another color on there, red. Now, when I console log original, I would expect to only see blue and green. But I'm sure, as you guessed it, when I log it out, it actually has now red. So with this mutation, with this push method, it does affect the original array. Just be careful with it, because you might mess up original data that you weren't intending to do. Another method is accessor methods. Let's have a look at that now quickly. Let me just copy this up here, so we don't have to type it out again. I'm being lazy. And now let's just call this accessor. And accessor methods are nice because it allows us not to manipulate the original array, but to create a copy of the original array and then manipulate that. It's quite cool. So have a look here. Let's define an array of names. And let's say it's John, Wally, and Cindy. Now, one accessor method available to us is known as slice. And slice just returns a specified portion of the array. I'll show you what I mean now. So let's just say copy equals names. That's our original array. We want to access a slice method. And you can see my IDE is already telling us what the two arguments are. The start is the beginning of the specified portion of the array, and the end, which specifies when the array needs to end. So let's just return. Say we want to return just Wally and Cindy. We didn't want to involve John in all of this. So here we can start at 1 and end at 3. Now if we console log that out, we've got Wally and Cindy. How cool is that? But I mean, if I console log out names, names has kept its original form of having 3 people in it. So that's an accessor method. What about an iterator method? Iterator method, as we said, just iterates through an array, and it allows you to do things with a certain value each time it iterates through that array. Whew, that's a bit of a mouthful. But again, it's much easier to understand with an example. So let's give you a third example here of an iterator method. And a very popular one that you are going to be using, and I'll probably even do a whole section on it, if not a whole section, definitely 1 or 2 full-on episodes, is the map method. Now there's a lot we can talk about with the map method, so I'm not going to do it here. I'm just going to show you very briefly how it works and what an iterator method means. And let's create an array of animals. And let's just say we've got a dog and a cat. I don't want to make it too long. And now I just want to create an animal iterator. Let's just call it animal iterator. And we're going to access our original array, and we're going to use this map method. Okay? And as you can see in my IDE, this map method calls a callback function on each element of an array. And by element of an array, we're just saying the dog and the cat in this case. Those are called elements. So a function is going to be called returning a dog and returning a cat, etc., etc. Don't worry about callback functions yet. We're going to get into these things later. So the first argument in this map method is the callback function. You can even see that in my IDE. It's telling me. So let's define a callback function that takes the element, which in our case is an animal. It's a type of an animal type. And then let's do something with that animal type. So in our case, let's just console log a statement. Let's use template literals and let's say, I don't know, we are dealing with a. And then you can literally take that animal type. Whew! And look at what's just happened. You can see the console says we're dealing with a dog, we're dealing with a cat. So that's what the map method does. It takes each element of your array. So on the first iteration, on the first loop, it's going to take dog. It's going to put that dog into that callback function. And it's going to put that dog into a variable called animal type. And then we just do whatever we please with it. In this case, we've just done a simple console log message of that animal type. But this doesn't affect the original array. If I type animals, we've still got our dog and cat. It's done nothing to it. It's just a method that allows us to iterate through an array. We've gone through a lot. Well done. Hope it's starting to make sense. See you soon.